thinking of you last night watching the Met game.
Yeah.
And as they were just housing the Marlins, I was thinking, that finally Gio got what he was asking for yesterday morning.
Rocking chair.
Yes, rocking chair game. And, of course, anytime you beat the Red Sox up in Fenway, and I know that Cole had a hard time with Devers, it really doesn't matter. Just win the game. And then your Islanders make a unique trade, and it's kind of interesting. So I have a number of different text threads that go on. I have NBA text threads, believe it or not.
NBA, yep.
I have NHL text threads. Of course, I have NFL text threads. And I also have my Met fan friends that are all over me. And every now and again, I'll get a Yankee email. I don't know why I'm on the Yankee email thread, but I get it. And I get to see what real Yankee fans are thinking about. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
So, on the NHL text thread, when the Islanders make a trade last night and they trade out of the 13th pick and they get this guy Romanoff from the Canadians, everybody's like, oh, what's going on? I'm saying, Lou Lamoriello is not 45 years old. He's not thinking the future. He's thinking right now. He's thinking that he has a team that can go and win. And the reason I point this out is because general managers need to take a page out of his book. And I think most of the general managers around here, at least I feel like, are trying to do that. I think Sean Marks tried to do that 3 years ago, and it blew up in his face.
Of course, yes.
I think that Chris Drury's trying to do that with the Rangers. They'll make a trade. They'll get a second-line center in here that everybody will be happy with, whether it be Mark Scheifele or JT Miller or, any other potential, or maybe they bring back Strome, who knows. But they'll get it right because they know that they have a window to win. And that's what I always say about Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman knew about whatever it was 5, 6, 7 years ago when they brought up Gary Sanchez initially. They didn't have a chance to win, but Gary Sanchez was, he was must-see TV. You had to go watch the new catcher of the Yankees, and he brought a little bit of luster to that team that was basically out of the playoffs that year, and he recognized that he had to retool in the offseason, and he did that. That's why I do believe that Billy Epler and Brian Cashman are going to be locked in toe-to-toe, maybe going after some of the same players at the trade deadline.
Well, I think especially bullpen arms. I think that's where you'll see them competing in the marketplace.
Well, the Mets, we all know what the Mets need. They need somebody that actually can hit.
Well, yeah, they need a power bat.
And they need somebody that's going to sit behind Pete Alonso and actually be a threat to the lineup, to also offer some, as they say, protection to Pete Alonso.
Would you like 50-year-old Nelson Cruz?
No, I'm not. I don't want.
That's the name that is out there right now. What do you think about that, Fleegs? Big Met fan. You want 50-year-old Nelson Cruz?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I think people really, baseball players and baseball people have a great amount of respect for him. Miguel Cabrera is the same kind of. Would you take a Miguel Cabrera if the Tigers ate a big portion of the money?
Well, I mean, he's still under contract for a number of years, so no.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, like, they would have to eat a lot of the money.
But Steve Cohen doesn't care about that.
Well, the point being is that there's your DH right there. I mean, if you want to go that direction, there'll be other people that'll be available as well. Maybe the Yankees, the Mets will be involved in that. And if I were one of these crappy teams that does have an asset that seems to be on everybody's wish list, guess what? I'm playing them against each other.
Oh, certainly.
And I'm playing them against each other in a big way, especially when it comes to the New York teams.
Well, yeah, and also play the Mets and Braves against one another as well, because that race is tightening up, and they actually did lose last night. So you get some breathing room. Yeah, but nice to see the Braves lose.
It was last year when Scherzer and Trey Turner got sent to the Dodgers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
A big deal like that.
That's what I want. I want, how do these other teams pull it off? And how do the Dodgers always seem to pull it off?
Well, they don't care about money, like Steve Cohen doesn't care about money.
And that's what we need.
Right, exactly. And I think that because they built their farm system up so incredibly well, they were dealing with a lot of chips. So those are the two reasons why.
Right. They also, the Dodgers had that other pitcher that had the problem off the field and everything else, too. And
Trevor Bauer,
and they ended up paying him.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I was thinking about him the other day. I'm like, what is going on with him? I know he's suspended for 2 years, but he's fighting that suspension, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then again, who would...
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. That's a little too heavy for me right now. I have no idea. I'm just waiting on the Deshaun Watson suspension. I have no clue. I haven't thought about Trevor Bauer since that suspension came down. I know he's fighting it. I don't know if he's got any help from the Players Association on this, like Deshaun Watson seems to have help from his Players Association. I have no idea. But anyway, back to the trade deadline.
All right.
Yes?
Well, yeah. So the point being is that, that's last night was nice, and it's nice for J.D. Davis, and it's nice for a couple guys to come up big in spots. It became a boring game.
Yeah. Well,
And by the way, Williams
great,
was
though.
good last night.
Well, yeah, I know. It was phenomenal. But this is exactly this was an everybody calm down night. That's what this was, because you had the people that we've been complaining about, McCann and J.D. Davis coming up big. This was the Braves finally losing. This was finally a game where you didn't have to bite your fingernails the entire night. This was a everybody calm down, things are going to be okay night. But this is the long ups and downs roller coaster of a Major League Baseball season, where at any point you're feeling panic or at any point you're feeling elation. And last night was one of those nights. And they have taken care of the Marlins this year better than in years past. What are they, 7-2 now against them in their first 9 games played? So, win 3 out of 4 or win all 4 heading into that Braves series, because the dreaded look-ahead spot is the last thing that we wanted them to do in this series, and they got off to a great start against them.
Yeah,
so.
well, there's no look-ahead spot.
Yeah.
There can't be.
The dreaded look-ahead spot.
We got a long way to go, man.
Yeah. No,
we got
a
lot of games.
I know. There's a lot of
G.
games. I know.
We do have a lot of games, man.
It's a lot of baseball games.
Oh, man, a lot of baseball games.
Man, I tell you,
just keep going and going and going.
The way that we are, everything's at our fingertips these days,
Yes.
and our attention spans are what they are, and we're the TikToking and Instagram and everything else. The baseball season just seems longer and longer and longer. I mean, these regular seasons in all sports just seem so damn long.
But you know what? I want to enjoy the ride. Like I was saying yesterday to Yankee fans, enjoy the ride, because who knows when they'll do what they're doing right now again.
Sure.
I mean, you're in the middle of a historic season. You enjoy the ride, and even though Cole got dinged by Devers twice last night.
A little worried about him?
No,
Not at all.
it happens.
I mean, not just because of last night, just
There's
overall.
one guy that got him.
No, I know, but it's just, I don't know. He's just not been. I know he's had moments, but
Let me ask you a question: who's been better for their contract, Francisco Lindor or Garrett Cole?
Garrett Cole, because Lindor's season last year was just a full-blown atrocity. Now, this year, it's a little better, but it's not great.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think Garrett Cole is the answer. Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's really all that close.
I think he has the ace mentality. I think there are going to be times where, every ace is going to go out there and have their moments where they just, he just served it up last night.
Well, to Devers, yeah. I mean, he was so annoyed with that second
else,
run.
I mean, he's had guys swinging and missing all over the place.
Yeah, I know. I just, if the Yankees are going to be this championship team in the middle of this special season, you want him to be the way he was in that last year with the Astros.
October, Biggs.
Before he came over to the Yankees, where he couldn't lose. He went on that winning streak. He couldn't lose. He was mowing down everybody. He was phenomenal.
He needs to be Andy Pettitte, Roger Clemens,
yes.
CC Sabathia in the playoffs.
Exactly.
That's who he needs to be.
Exactly.
So don't worry about it. I mean, all this stuff. El Duque. Look, he hit 100 last night on the gun.
Okay, so.
I mean, so he's fine. I don't have any problem with him. So
right.
a guy, by the way, Rafael Devers is a pretty good player.
Of course he is.
He gets paid too, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes
I've heard that.
I think you guys forget that.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep. He gets paid too. I believe he has a family as well, right?
He's got a family.
He's got a family. Yeah.
He gets paid too.
He gets paid too. Yeah, I've heard these things.
He's trying to win.
All right. Not worried about him. Not worried about him. That's fine.
I mean, just had a moment with one player.
Yeah, I know.
And the guy got him last night.
Twice, though.
It happens.
Yeah, I guess.
Happened to deGrom. It happens to Scherzer. It happens to all the great ones.
I mean, but just like, you bring up Lindor, and the reason why the Mets need another power bat and you feel like they need to add to this offense is because Lindor is not doing what you expected Lindor to do when you traded for him.
Yeah, he's not giving you a $32 million
no, absolutely
performance. Not even close.
Well, he hasn't been terrible this year, but he's been, slightly above average.
He's supposed to be an all-star for that kind of money.
Yeah, every single year, especially
every year.
In the early portion of this contract.
That's
no
the bottom
excuse.
Line. Bottom line, that contract, you're supposed to be an all-star.
Yeah, and I want both those guys to be dominant. And I think that if you're going to win a championship or win the National League Championship Series or the ALCS for the Yankees, both those guys are going to have to be dominant in their own roles. And I haven't really seen that from either one of them, consistently enough. But the standard for Cole was just so high that last year in Houston. It just was, he was insane. You could not get a hit off of him.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like what Verlander's doing now. But I just, To me, for him, he's going to be fine. Like if I saw last night his fastball, somewhere around 92, 93, then I'd be concerned. He's throwing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, I know he is.
And maybe he's overdoing it, and maybe he needs to dial it back a little bit. But again, for him, it's going to be those big starts in the postseason. That's where the money is well spent or it's poorly spent.
That's the reason they got him. I mean, they didn't get him for regular season games against the Red Sox, as important as some of those can be, and they're not as important this year because the Yankees lead. But, yeah, you got him Game 1. Division Series, Game 7, ALCS, Game 1, World Series. That's why you have him.
And, it's the same thing with Aroldis Chapman. You're paying him a lot of money, and you're going to be putting him into high-leverage situations. I don't know if he may end up closing a game, some of the games here, depending on what goes on with the other guys in the rotation. But, you're spending so much money on him. Mm-hmm. That you're expecting him to get the job done, just like you are expecting Garrett Cole to get the job done. Now, if they're locked up in a game 7 with Houston, and it's Verlander and Cole, that's what I, as a baseball fan, as a fan overall, I mean, I know that's not what Yankee fans want because, quite frankly, those are the games that have been tough for the Yankees.
Every Yankee fan would take, I think, a Game 7 in an ALCS right now because it means you're right there. Yeah, one game to win the World Series?
Yeah, but here's the deal.
Come on.
I think every Yankee fan expects to go walking through everybody.
No, they do not.
Because of the way they're
playing.
No,
you're wrong about that.
But that's the game. If that game materializes, that's the game. That's the game where your $36 million man has got to go out and be your $36 million man.
Absolutely.
He's got to be Matt Harvey, but you take him out in the 8th or after the 8th.
Yeah, I was at that game. I was chanting for him.
I know you were. But
I was chanting for him. I was one of those guys.
We all were.
Come back out. Let's go. Let's do it. Finish the job. Come on. Dark Knight, the whole thing.
Right.
Oh, man. In retrospect, not so much.
Not so much. The Dark Knight went dark after that.
Man, I've seen
we have had a lot of pitchers, have like weird things happen.
Weird issues, yeah.
Like, and Jacob deGrom's been going through that now for a year and a half.
Yeah, remember Generation K?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, all those guys. Yeah, Isringhausen, Pulsifer, and Wilson.
When you think about the trade for Noah Syndergaard, you got deGrom, you got Harvey. If all three of those guys, which is almost impossible to expect, if all three of those guys were the guys that they were supposed to be or at one point in time were, then grew into something, you'd have like the most dominant pitching staff in baseball.
Yeah. Well, how about if Scherzer and deGrom were healthy now? You might have the most dominant pitching staff in baseball.
But you had three guys. And just whatever, youth, inexperience, injury, stupid off-the-field decisions, moronic statements, lifting weights when you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, all these idiotic things that these guys did to themselves. Now, Jake is not one of them. Jake is just a guy that overthrows and tries to hit 105 on the gun.
Which wasn't him early on in his career.
I didn't think so.
He had big velocity, but it wasn't like this.
The great thing about, I always think about Jacob deGrom, and the guy that I compare him to is Mariano Rivera. Obviously, one's a closer, one's a starter. The reason that I compare him to the great Mariano Rivera was because his ability, as they use in baseball parlance, location, his ability to locate the ball, and the accuracy at which he can really dot the corners and just basically get a batter off balance.
I think you're looking for pinpoint control. That's what you're looking for.
No, it's location.
That's baseball parlance.
Location is
guys
baseball
got you want baseball parlance? Pinpoint control.
Time out. I hear Ronnie Darling and John Smoltz, two guys who I love as an analyst.
Yeah.
Always talk about location.
Well, so location's like a real estate thing.
When I talk about a quarterback, they use the parlance that I use. They may have played quarterback. I'm not sure. Vernacular.
Okay.
All right. So I like to use that as my way of describing what I think is the best part of Jacob deGrom.
Okay. Well, it would be nice to see him at some point.
But even John Smoltz said that, look, man, sometimes you just got to dial it back.
I know, but he doesn't seem to want to dial it back.
But sometimes you have to. It's self-preservation.
But how many times have we seen this?
He's going to opt out in a contract.
Well,
that
depends how he pitches. He's not going to opt out if he comes back and gets hurt again. That's for sure.
If he opts out, and you're sitting here and you're the Mets, and he hasn't done anything for in a year for you. I think his last start was last July 7th or something like that. So it's like an anniversary since he last did something for you.
Right. We have a
And he was
cake and a
hurt the year
candle.
before that too, right?
Right. Yep.
I mean, like, you're the Mets. Okay, we paid this guy all this money already, and really, what have we gotten on our return?
Yeah. I mean,
So now he opts out. Now what do we do?
well, if he's opting out, it's probably a good thing because that means he's come back and he's pitched well.
But how can you give a guy that has had so many issues? And I love the guy.
Well, you saw that report over our vacation where
What was the report?
Buster only put it out where if Jacob deGrom opts out, if he doesn't stay with the Mets, the Braves are the most likely landing spot. I was like, well, how does this even happen? How does this even come out? It's just so stupid. Who's putting that out there?
An agent.
Yeah, but like, why? Because to scare the Mets? How about your client pitches? How about that before we're worried about where he's going and trying to scare the Mets about him, defecting to the Braves? I mean, come back and pitch. Be a part of this team, for Christ's sake.
How about getting 12 starts and then getting 3 starts in the playoffs, and then let's say he goes 10-2, an ERA of 2.3. Who it may even be under 2 because he's so good, and then he goes into the playoffs and just locks it down. And then he can opt out, and then we can pay him.
Yeah, but I would take that though, because that means that if he's coming back and he's locking it down in the playoffs, they got a good chance of winning a World Series.
It's all about locking it down.
Locking it down.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.